Several concerned citizens have talked to me about problems along the recently built sidewalk between 21st and 31st. And I think that the council staff assisted me and took a few pictures of a few of the problems, and that's what this item here on the agenda is. And I think we also have a couple of speakers. This is the first item. This is at the northeast corner of 31st and Peoria. That is the traffic light pole. And as you can see, it's difficult. Just beyond that is where you're supposed to cross over to the west side of Peoria in order to continue along south. And they're going to, you can see the sidewalk on the other side of the street over there. So the problem is that it might potentially be difficult to get around this traffic light. And a couple of citizens have taken it on themselves to go and approach the homeowner about potentially utilizing some of his property to make this sidewalk more accessible to the general public. And I think he's been extremely amenable to that. So we can hear about that in a second, but this is one of the items in there. Okay, go to the next one. Okay.
21st.
Yeah. Go to the next one. The real three items. I think this was actually repaired yesterday. This manhole cover used to set actually below the surface quite a bit. I think it was something that was pretty dangerous. We'll go to the next one. There's one more. One more. One more. I guess we got all these pictures in there. Well, at some point, I think these gentlemen probably have pictures, but there's a light post that sits directly in the middle of the sidewalk. And anyway, next to the light post is a utility post that the light could probably be attached to, and indeed along Peoria, oftentimes there are, as you can see on that utility pole, there's a light attached to the utility pole. So it makes little sense to have that light pole in the middle of the sidewalk. So anyway, I'll invite Mr. Bledsoe up to speak. If you have any comments on this. Mr. Bledsoe lives at 26th Place in Peoria.
I live on the southeast corner of 26th Place in Peoria and have lived there since 1990. My wife, who bought that house in 1975, has lived there. And I think we are the senior people on our block, which really makes me feel wonderful, I guess. Anyway, it's been my dream that there will be a sidewalk on Peoria. I've been lobbying. I began lobbying Mayor Savage and continued lobbying the LaFortune administration, and to my great delight, the sidewalk was included as part of the 2001, I believe, third penny sales tax, and included in the recently nearly completed rehabilitation project on South Peoria. It's been my dream that for the citizens of Tulsa, that from Cherry Street to Brookside, someone with a baby stroller or in a wheelchair could transverse that unaided and unassisted. And the design concept would also theoretically and potentially include a sidewalk covering from Woodward Park to Zink Park. So this is nearly completed, and to my great distress, there are some significant impediments. One is a street light pole in the middle of the sidewalk at 27th Street, right next to the drain which you saw earlier, of a similar fashion at the intersection of 31st and Peoria. I'd like to compliment the engineering firm and the construction company that have done this project. My property at 26th Place in Peoria, and that's where Hazel comes in from the other side of Peoria, was significantly affected. Some of you who may have driven that area may recall that corner was cut off. It was rounded off. And so the tendency was, from coming from Cincinnati along Hazel or zipping down Peoria, this became the cut through for the kids to go to Cassia Hall. And we have been requesting since Brady Pringle was the counselor for District 9 that corner be squared up. And fortunately they did that, and gave me about 1/3 of an acre more to mow. But significantly helped the neighborhood, helped the appearance, and I will report that it has significantly cut down speeders and cut-throughs in traffic. So that occasioned me to have a lot of interaction with the construction company because they were tearing up my front yard. They were good, they were responsive, they gave me their cell phone numbers, and that caused me to have interaction with them on these other problems. Approximately 3 months ago, I talked to the engineer, and he indicated that he had put in a request for the light pole at 27th Street to be removed and the street light to be relocated to a utility pole. I spoke to him approximately 2 weeks ago, and that project is still in the hands of Public Works Department and is waiting to be done. I also discussed with him and the construction company the disturbing and perhaps dangerous problem with the corner at the intersection of 31st and Peoria, where you saw the pictures that Councilor Carter took. They informed me that they were instructed to construct it that way. I questioned its safety and the fact that there might be some Americans with Disabilities Act issue. He said he knew that, he was concerned about it, but that the street department had told him to go ahead that way. Mr. Beatty, who is the president or co-president of the Brookside Neighborhood Association, a personal friend of mine, and we go to church together, I contacted him and we decided to contact that homeowner at the corner, the northeast corner of 31st and Peoria. And he can tell you a little more about that, but just to make a long story short, the homeowner had never been contacted by any of the construction companies or by the city of Tulsa, and he's more than willing to donate the land necessary to provide additional space for a ADA compliant and safe sidewalk, as long as his fence will be reconstructed and his property not damaged as much as possible. There's a little tree that might be affected. He couldn't have been more cooperative and civic-minded in this process. So I think there is a solution here. I think there is a dangerous situation here. I would hope it would be corrected. Let me say this about Public Works. There's some people in Public Works Department that I've interacted with over the course of this project that are exceptional. And I want to mention the name of one, Albert Martinez. He has been responsive, he's been helpful, he has returned my phone calls, and he assisted me and All Souls Unitarian Church in doing a private improvement sidewalk on the other side of Peoria, which we paid for and the city has now accepted. Other people in Public Works have not been so responsive. In fact, Mr. Martinez is the only one who has returned my call. I'd be happy to respond to any questions if anyone has any.
Do you have anything to say?
Basically, he's given my report, but I wish whoever is in control of it. If I could have that first, who's putting pictures up? Jack, if you could get that first, I like the one that's looking south.
Is that your bike, Herb?
Pardon?
Was that your bike?
I don't know. My name is Herb Beatty, and I am the co-president of the Brookside Neighborhood Association. That's 2020. No, that's not it. And I am the president of the Brookside Neighborhood Association. Well, this is it. And I also get around town pretty much on a bicycle, and I share, I'm interested in sidewalks and I'm interested in bicycle trails. And so when Greg called my attention to this matter, this is impossible. You cannot get through there. And by the way, my friends Brooke and Jill Tarbell live 2 blocks to the west and one house off of 31st Street, and they're in chairs, okay? And can you imagine coming south with those nice, attractive ramps and then getting to this point in a wheelchair? Anyhow, when Greg called me, I went and talked to this nice man, Mr. Jeff Glass, who owns the property here, and he's willing to do whatever, give you the property, whatever. He'd never been contacted by anybody but the city, this project appears to be complete. While we're here and talking about it, I want to know soon, as president of Brookside, I should back up and say Brookside Neighborhood Association represents the citizens who live between 31st and Skelly, Lewis and the river, big territory. And of course Peoria is a major part of it. We have today occurring, as you can see off there to the south, I believe we have intersection improvements occurring. I think that's right.
Sir, I need to warn you, we have to stick to these improvements because they're on the agenda.
Okay. I just, look at that corner on the southeast corner. How are we going to resolve that problem and be able to continue south in a chair, a bike, or on foot?
Thank you.
I'll be glad to introduce you to Mr. Glass.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Greg Jennings. I also have some of the same concerns. I have some different photos that show some of the other problems along Peoria that, for the most part, they did a really good job, but there are some workmanship issues for me as well as some of these poles. That's actually my bike, and since we talked this corner to death, we can skip this and go to the next one. This is actually just north of there. It's in the asphalt. It's already failing. I don't know whether that's a consequence of there's something wrong underneath it or whether somebody spilled something on it, but as you can see, the asphalt's already being pushed to the curb, and it's less than 6 weeks old. So that's an issue that needs to be addressed.
Greg, do you know where that is?
It's just north of 31st Street on the east side. It's basically right there at that corner. This is just to the north of that. You can see that there's a fire hydrant, which impedes the sidewalk, which they attempted to go around it, but somehow in the final product it didn't quite finish up correctly. This is a problem that's constant up and down Peoria, where they put in this fake brick that it's already starting to crack in several places. This is just north of where that is. This is 27th Street. This is the light pole that they were talking about earlier. Now, to give you some background, that wall that's there was put in about 2 years ago. That's actually not the retaining wall, the brown wall to the far left. That's actually sitting 5 feet on city property. The wall, when it was originally constructed back in 1927, was a little bit to the west of that, but it was still on city property. In fact, it's on fee simple property, which means the city owns it outright. And I assume that they went and bought that because they were intending to widen the road at some point in time. When it was installed, it used to just go to the backyard. They extended it all the way around to the front yard, which creates a nuisance under Title 24, Section 103, which claims that there has to be a site safety triangle 35 feet from the corner of that intersection, heading both directions that you connect, and you need to be able to see through it. So if you're attempting to get onto Peoria or exiting Peoria to 27th Street, you can't see.
Greg,
Yeah.
is this the house that a few years ago,
It was up
Board of
for auction.
Adjustment or somebody said they had...
It came before the Board of Adjustment to try and get relief because it doesn't meet the setback requirement because it's on city property. The Board of Adjustment denied that application because the owner doesn't have the right to make an adjustment to city-owned property. So what they attempted to do last November, a couple of times, some of you may remember, is they attempted to get a license agreement with the city to legalize it so they could go back before the Board of Adjustment and have it all taken care of. Well, I tried to derail it because, in my opinion, we shouldn't be rewarding people that essentially take city property and stick it in their backyard. And that's essentially what's happened here.
Question. What did we do something on that a couple years ago? On that property?
There's an application in that we...
Still was not placed.
Right, it's been, just like Mr. Jennings, the side triangles, we work with that. There hasn't been permits, but that is still something we have to deal with. But that wall portion of it does violate the
So now we continue to work on it, we just have something else.
No, it is still active.
So as you can see, the biggest problem is that the utility pole's right in the middle of the sidewalk, and had we had the additional 5 feet, we probably could have worked around it. Also keep in mind that when the original bid went out in January of 2005, this retaining wall was not included in that bid. That was subsequently put in an addendum bid in June of 2005, which to me means that it cost the city more money to do this job because of this, and it's actually not the current homeowner. The homeowner that was previous to this is the one that did it. So it's costing the citizens money because they did this. So that's, to me, a big problem. If you want to go further down the street, there's a couple other issues. To add insult to injury, there's a railroad spike sticking out in the middle of that utility pole. So this is just to the south of that intersection. This is it's a sanitary sewer. As you can see, there wasn't enough room to even finish out the retaining wall. This is that same property. This is just to the north of that. As you can see, that the fake brick is already starting to fall in, and you can see that the caulking that they put has already failed. So eventually this is going to lead to a problem. This is what I consider some of the bad workmanship. Again, there's a big crack in it. If you go to the next one. This is a new curb on the left side, and you can see there's all kinds of dips and chips and chunks taken out of it, and to me that's going to lead to future maintenance problems. Again, same thing. This is one of the ramps that goes into the street. It's already cracking. This is the corner of 21st and Peoria, looking south. The biggest problem is the fact that the buttons are on the wrong side of the pole. And actually, at this intersection, 3 out of the 4 poles have the buttons on the wrong side. And while it's a minor problem, it's a big problem. If you're in a wheelchair, you're pushing your kids around. Next one. And this is the other corner. As you can see, they have the buttons in the right place, but there's a big utility pole standing in between you and getting through. I think that's all. So,
Thank you.
Mr. Benny, is that your bicycle?
that's my bicycle, actually.
Your bicycle.
Councilor Carter, could I briefly supplement what Mr. Jennings said on the same topic?
Well, is it about the house?
It is about the wall at 27th Street.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, that's really not, I mean, to me, that goes beyond the
Okay.
scope of what this agenda item is, which are the sidewalk impediments on Peoria.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to talk to both of you gentlemen about that after or whatever, but why I put this item on the agenda is I wanted to see if we could solve any of those sidewalk impediments, and I think Public Works is trying to do that, and obviously they haven't had a chance to speak, and maybe they could come and inform us of some things.